The Upper Midwest biggest boat show is back. The Discover Boating Minneapolis Boat Show in partnership with Progressive Insurance is headed to the Minneapolis Convention Center January 23rd through the 26th. You can head over to our contest page for your shot at a 4-pack of tickets. KFAN.com, keyword contest to enter.
You know me, I'm a purist. I'm an NFC purist. I tend to be bored with the AFC, but I must admit, the Baltimore at Buffalo matchup next week, that's a ball game. I mean, it's not like we're not familiar with these teams, but they've both had stellar seasons, especially Buffalo. They've got the two leading MVP candidates for sure. And I'm looking forward to that one. Is time set for that one? Because my understanding is if we win tonight, we will play in Philadelphia in the early game on Sunday. The noon game on Sunday, Central Time.
I think, that's set no matter what.
Right. Yep. I think they're all set at this point.
So
just who's playing who. But in terms of the times, I think they're all set. And we're in that early Sunday window, which would mean a 1-hour Sunday sermons for a change would be nice, right? Because the pregame show would be at 10.
I would think it would be.
Right? So it would be 9 to 10 o'clock, which would be kind of cool for a change.
So, Ravens-Bills is the Sunday, it says 5:30 our time.
Okay.
If I'm looking at it correctly.
That makes sense. Okay. Yep. Pilot was probably a bitter Bears fan wishing his team had taken Jaden Daniels, LOL. That's from Scott. That's very possible. Is anyone considering that the pilot could have been a Tampa Bay fan? Maybe Read the Room guy should be happy that the pilot got him home safely and didn't focus his time on making a wisecrack about the game. Well, a source close to the program did just text me, who's got a pilot in his family, his son, and he basically said the same thing. He said, come on, man. I mean, a lot of times they really do have a job to do, right? I mean,
yes.
I want to think they are taking that job really seriously. Now, again, they can, for 5 seconds, make a message, deliver a message like that. But to actually think it's worthy of taking the time to tweet it out, in of itself.
To be mad about it. To notice it, first of all.
Indignant about it. Read the room, guy.
To notice it at all.
How about that
It's
sentence?
the best.
Read the room, guy.
That's the Do Better Charlotte.
Yeah,
that's the Rick Hamlet Do Better Charlotte.
It's exactly right.
And it's so, to actually think it, so he's sitting by the gate with all the Commander fans and going, I bet the pilot's going to say
he's
something.
He's going to be so excited for us.
Incredible.
Yeah, we're going to be validated and vindicated.
The pilots.
You like us. You really like us.
2 a.m. flight from wherever we are. That's incredible. What if Sully was worried about the fan affiliations on that flight to Charlotte from LaGuardia?
We would have had to do a eulogy instead of what we did give. Lawyer Tom writes, maybe the pilot was an indigenous person who was exercising extreme restraint for not scolding everyone on the plane for their years of patronage for blatant racism. Just saying. That's Lawyer Tom for you. My brother moves from San Francisco to Washington last summer, attended Commander's training camp. He wore the only fan gear he had, a San Francisco Giants championship shirt and hat. He said he got accused several times by Commanders fans of being a spy and couldn't believe the stink eye he got all day. I'm telling you, they're sneaky obnoxious. They've had these sleeper cells who've been, because the team's been asleep, they've been asleep, and they're awakening. And now we're going to have to put up with them because this kid's a good quarterback, so they're going to be good for a while.
So, I'm going to Maryland tonight after the show. I have to fly into D.C. For women's hoops tomorrow. So I'm going right in.
You're ranked now.
24th. Yeah, very nice.
Well, it's the last year we were ranked.
2019.
That's a long time.
It's been, 6 years.
6 years, yeah. That's right, it's 2020.
The point is, I'm going into the belly of the beast. So I think I'm going to have to listen to the Sports Junkie or whatever show Grant Paulson's on to see.
Yes.
Do you think this is like a 2 or 3 day topic on his show?
Oh, I don't doubt it at all.
I feel like I need a podcast for sure.
It is worth finding out.
To see
You're right.
if he brought it up with the radio audience.
Yes.
And then maybe
still stuck in his craw.
Yeah, maybe it is.
People think I get crazy about stupid stuff. This is from Brad in Greenwood. Hey, I totally get that tweet about the pilot. I mean, I just left the customer facility in Nebraska, and not one of those guys wished me good luck for my Vikings tonight. I mean, how dare they? Read the room, guy. That's the other thing I left.
I know, it's
read
so
the room,
good.
Guy. Oh,
he's trying to read his pilot stuff.
Fun to think we could still, this is from 507, we could still play the NFC Championship game at home.
We could.
That's true. We win, Commanders win, and it's welcome to Minneapolis. I don't like the Commanders' chances against the Lions, but I got to tell you.
They're 9.5-point dogs as it stands.
Is that what
right
it
now.
is?
Yeah, according to DraftKings.
Oh, wow.
Just
That's
looking at it now.
Again, he's playing. Daniel's playing free and easy.
Yeah, he's fun to watch.
And he is fun to watch. And what did he have? What was the stat that the Washington didn't punt once, and he didn't throw a pick, and that's like the first or second time that's happened in 50 years. I don't know if I don't even, it's another one of those obscure stats, but he's been so good. Meanwhile, our guy, how good is when do you think the rest of the football world is going to catch up with what we've been saying for years about the Chargers QB?
That he's no good?
That he's overrated.
Yeah, I know.
Even with Harbaugh trying to remake him.
You're right.
He only throws 3 interceptions all year. He threw 4 on Saturday. 4 picks.
In his defense, they never asked him to throw during the regular season. They just wanted to run the ball.
That's true.
The whole time.
Yeah.
Because that's Harbaugh, right?
That's true.
That's why we were a little concerned about J.J. McCarthy, and we still have no idea what McCarthy's going to be as a pro. Yeah, we've been saying it for a while. But he looks like a quarterback. I saw the other, I saw your Will Levis commercial, by the way.
Yeah, and I wasn't making that up.
No, it's mayonnaise. And you're right, we talked about it. He puts mayonnaise in his coffee. But Herbert has a couple of commercials, too, because he looks like a QB.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, he looks
got
like
the look. He's well built.
Yeah, he's a handsome guy.
Yeah.
BMI off the charts. And
I think he's a little puffy.
You think so?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, in the commercial, he looked lean.
Okay.
I don't know what it was for, and I didn't see much of the Charger game. But people want to believe Herbert is a dude. And he's just not right now.
Larry Mondello guy delivers bad news, and he's right. I should have realized this. The second week, the early game isn't at noon. On Sunday, it's like I think it's either 1 or 2 o'clock, isn't it? I think. Well, double check. Double check the time you see tentatively scheduled for the Eagles hosting whoever. And if we win, it's either going to be the Rams or us. That's who the Eagles are going to host, because obviously Washington is the lowest seed. They automatically have to go to Detroit. So double check the time, because I think he may be right that the divisional round week, they don't start at noon, even in the early window, that it's a later window because they want to get into a little bit more of that prime time.
Oh, yeah.
Period. Is that right?
It will be at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock Central?
Yes. 3 o'clock Eastern.
So I'd still have to do a 2-hour show.
Maybe 3, just to get us a little bit further.
It's unbelievable. A couple more quick texts here. We are going to try to reach Gerby around 4 after our next break, probably. Where did it go? Where is it? Yeah, 2 o'clock. A number of people are saying it's 2 o'clock. I should be paying closer attention. And you're right.
Well,
I should have
CBS is saying 2. This graphic here is saying 1. So either way,
I bet you it might be 2 Eastern, 1. It could be that 1 Central. Whatever. I'm going to have a 2.5. I'm going to have at least a 2-hour show. Unbelievable.
Well, enjoy your load management tonight. Kind of bank the hours.
Zach writes that Grant guy needs to be careful. He may have misgendered the pilot. Read the room. They/them. That's a very good point.
Or gal.
Could be a woman, too,
could be,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of assumption?
They let him fly planes now.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God. The name was familiar, because I think he's got a fairly high profile.
He does.
In
yes,
right?
he does, which is sad.
Yeah, it's just
because you can't think like that.
No, I don't. It's not.
And I'm as big a rube as anybody.
Right,
you
you are,
especially on some of my home teams here. But man, I can't imagine thinking that and then tweeting it
and tweeting it out,
just sitting in his seat waiting.
It's not just that he tweeted it out; it's the way he wrote it.
Yeah,
it's the wording he used, and like you said, this is his version of "do better, Charlotte." We should remind people what that was, because they're going to go, well, "What does that even mean?"
Do better, Charlotte.
I'll tell you what. We'll do that when we come back from the top of the hour break, and then we're going to try.
We don't have a top of the hour break. We go until 12.
Oh, you're
now.
right.
Yeah, we broke early,
good shape.
So we're good.
So
tell the story now.
The Charlotte story is that which ball is the Charlotte point guard?
Oh, geez,
LaMelo Ball. Yep. He gets hurt in a really quirky, goofy fashion. He ends up like running into the first row of seats in Charlotte, the beautiful people seats.
The Charlie Swanson Lexus of Wayzata seats.
Exactly right. And there's a guy there trying to kind of grab him, but he ends up, I think, Ball ends up like twisting his ankle, or on, his foot comes on top of the fan's foot, whatever. And the injury kept him out for a while, I think. That was a pretty significant injury. And on NBA radio, satellite radio, our guy Kamla savaged the fan. Basically made it sound like, hey, you got to be, if you're going to sit there, you got to be alert.
Pay attention.
As if he should have cleared the area so there was no chance that the 2 feet, that his foot might have gotten in the way of LaMelo Ball's foot. And then the quote, I think the tweet from Kamla was, "Do better, Charlotte." Like an entire community failed LaMelo Ball and the Charlotte Hornets.
You got to pay attention.
So we've been doing the do better thing ever since, basically. And this is another version of it with different wording.
100%.
Read the room, guy. Oh my God. Read the room, guy. That's just too good.
Did he mention that the flight was seamless? Like that he touched down and he's back in D.C. and all's well that ends well?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, like great flight, smooth skies.
So that must have been some kind of a red-eye thing, huh? Out of Tampa?
I guess.
I mean, I shouldn't say the tweet. The tweet was 2:30 in the morning, so it had to have been.
So maybe it was a late night flight.
Maybe it was a late night flight. Yeah, that's true. He might have just gotten back.
And he landed.
Whatever.
And he had to get the tweet out before while he was waiting for his bag or something.
It's bizarre to me, absolutely remarkable to me. Let me get to a couple other texts. They're going to win tonight, but before you got to think about next week, and I don't think they're going to win tonight. I guess he thinks I'm talking too much about the Eagles game, and yeah, probably so. That's probably true. All I'm doing is generally, on the Monday of Wild Card Weekend, we're going to bounce off several of the games and impressions that we had. And my impression of the Eagles was they weren't as impressive as I thought, based on their record, based on what we know about them. But I acknowledge you can't overreact to a single game as necessarily being proof that they can't play better the next week. The Eagles have lots of good things going for them, largely, as we've said a couple times, good to great offensive and defensive lines. Their passing game looked pedestrian, I thought, largely. And Green Bay, with any kind of more professional outing from a quarterback, I think that day it appeared might have had a chance to steal it because, like the Vikings against Detroit for 3 quarters, the Green Bay defense played well enough to win for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
They really did. Same thing. So my assumption is if you're B-Flow, and in fact the Vikings are fortunate enough to win tonight, that you're going to take a look at what the Packers did, because it looked like they had some success largely stymieing whatever the Eagles were trying to do. Did you hear it's not even a controversy, but the interesting nugget regarding who's the Eagles' number 1 wide receiver?
What's his name? A.J. Brown?
Brown.
Yeah.
Reading the book he reads during the break?
Yeah.
And now that book is number 1 on the Amazon bestseller list.
That makes sense.
And it's I think it's a self-help kind of book. The name will come to me. Somebody will text to it. But he's shown in the silence, and I think reading the book. And I think originally some people took it that was his form of annoyance, like, well, I'm so bored because I hardly ever get the ball that I'll go ahead and read a book. He's claiming it's not that. It's I actually like taking a look at the thing, as odd as it sounds, during breaks.
Everybody's got a process.
I don't know if that's part of his process or he's making, because he's had some fairly well-known sideline meltdowns, right? About getting the ball and frustration about what he's asked to do, etc.
It was a whole plot this year with the team, wasn't it? It was like multiple weeks with him and the quarterback.
Correct.
Yeah. So maybe that helps him not have those.
Hendo in Minneapolis, that tweet was in the middle of the night because it was stuck in his craw and he couldn't sleep at night. It was eating at him. He had to get it off his chest.
He did. I have to listen to the whole show. I got to find this show either tonight or tomorrow.
Eric from Uptown is thinking ahead. Should Read the Room guy be the early favorite for State Fair T-shirt 2025?
It might have to be.
It might have to be. Read the Room guy.
Now I want us to host the Commanders, and I want him to come.
Oh, yeah. How good. Oh, that's true. Maybe we'll get him on.
And then I hope my neighbor flies him from here because he's a pilot. And I promise you he's not thinking about fan bases while he's flying.
A lot of people are, now challenging me to not just do 2 hours next week if the Vikings win.
Kind of talked your way into it.
But to do like 3.
You kind of talked your way into it.
Well,
that'd be a big game.
It is. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's...
Could have all the Vikings guests join us there. Lieber, Bursich, Gessling, Seifert. You could do a big show.
That's true. Actually, you're right. Maybe that's what we do.
It's a big game.
Guys, please give Houston's defense some credit. They have a good pass rush and ball hawks everywhere. Look what they did to Jared Goff in a loss. I think you're giving up on Herbert too early. That's, again, Tom from Columbia Heights.
He's been in the league like a decade now.
I think I'm not giving up on him.
No.
I think it's just more, I think he's gotten, because I likened it, I use the NBA analogy. You have a player, a very athletic player, who's got this litany of either dunks or crossover moves breaking ankles, right? And people lose their minds. And then you don't learn that, well, he can't guard anybody. He's a poor passer, or several other things that factor into it. And because he is pretty to look at and his passes are pretty to watch, because he certainly has the physical capabilities of making every throw. And he's had some incredible numbers, right?
Big box scores.
I think, though, people get so lost in his eyes and his arm, I should say, that they leave out, well, okay, but what's he really done? It's not all on him, but I don't see him as a guy who has elevated much, and he was downright dreadful in this game, because this was another game where Houston was quite beatable. But I will add, they do have a good defense. And a couple people, in fact, I think Houston plays Kansas City next. And a couple people have already said, this is a dangerous game for Kansas City. And I don't think they say it because they love the Houston offense. I think they think the Houston defense is sneaky, really, really good for the reasons that the texter just laid out there. And that'd be a hell of a story. If ultimately the winner of Buffalo and Baltimore don't even have to worry about playing Kansas City because Houston's knocked them off. Right,
former Gopher Eric Murray with a pick six.
Is that right?
Guy's been in the league for like a decade.
We're all over the NFL playoffs.
There's a lot of Gophers in the
Tampa Bay guy, running back.
Oh yeah,
Bucky,
and Antoine Winfield.
Except we wouldn't call him Bucky here, right?
No, we had to call him Bucko.
We had to call him Bucko. Is that what it was?
And they said he transferred for money. I'm not so sure.
I think he was bitter about the.
It might have been the Bucko thing.
Might have been that.
Yeah, who knows?
He's been terrific.
Yeah, he's a good player.
A very good player. Although I can't say I saw that coming. Did you? I didn't look at him and go, hey, this guy's got a chance to be a great pro. Did you?
I mean, we only saw him for the year. He had a good career at Oregon after he left here. So it didn't surprise. If you're doing that at Oregon, which he was, you've got a pretty good shot. Should we call Gerby? Yeah,
you know what? Let's do that now. It's a good point, because I realize, we're not breaking till 12 after. So, let's see if we can get a cold call into Carl Gerbschmidt and see how he's handling the fact that his team is already been eliminated. The team that everybody said, including me, is the kind of the sneaky team to beat.
Hello?
May I speak to Mr. Grabowski, please?
There's nobody here.
Jim Grabowski?
What do you want, Dan?
How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I stuck up for your team earlier this show.
Oh, that's great, Dan.
You got jobbed by the officials on the opening play, on the opening kickoff.
Boy, I don't have time to even open up this can of worms.
Are you guys gonna is there any protest? Is there anything you can do in the courts before next week?
There's nothing you can do. We tried a million times.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a different legal angle that someone could come up with, we would try it.
Is there any chance?
It won't matter. It won't matter because Goodell hates us. He has to.
Why is that? Why would Goodell hate you?
I don't know. We're lovable.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
That's a stretch.
Is there any chance that you guys might be interested in Sam Darnold for next season if he goes on the open market?
Why would we do that? We have Jordan Love. He's the best quarterback in the division.
What?
He's clearly the best quarterback in the division.
He was dreadful yesterday.
Of course, one of the best in the league.
You thought he looked that good yesterday?
I think there was some. Here's the deal: if you're now playing with your, fifth and sixth and seventh best receiver, they sometimes don't go where they're supposed to go, and they're kids.
Just flings the ball up too much.
And the youngest team in the league.
Oh, you're back to that nonsense.
It's not nonsense. It's a fact.
Facts
cannot be nonsense.
When are you going to turn on your coach? I'm beginning to think. I think your coach might be a little overrated too.
No, you're talking about. He's fine. Look. We got jobs. We got. You cannot. If you can literally say that you thought that game was refereed right down the middle, then I will repeat what I said.
You should have gotten that
Number
pass.
one.
Yeah.
Number one, you're stupid. Number two, you're probably evil.
Right.
And number 3, you have completely lost touch with reality. Those are the 3 excuses you could have if you think that game was somehow called right down the middle. Because it was not.
Well,
it was plain and simple not.
The kickoff return, that was a bad call.
Which one of those 3 are you, Dan?
Well, I've already acknowledged. I think the early call was bad. I also thought you got jobbed. Your receiver got
in the end zone.
The one in the end zone. That was pass interference. Yeah.
Yeah, well, of course.
It was
happened the whole game.
It was a short pass.
The whole game.
Not the whole game.
On every call. How do you think they had so much time to complete that?
Well, no,
pass?
I don't think.
Just hold them left and right. You probably weren't even looking for it because you don't want to see it.
No, I think you're exaggerating a little bit. I don't think it was the whole game. I think at the beginning and the end, you did get jobbed. And the big one, the one early is big because that's 7 points. Yeah.
Yeah. So how's that fair?
Well, nothing's fair, but you
don't want us there.
You lost your last 3.
You think we've won too many championships already?
Yeah.
You think that you guys let somebody else win? You don't have to. Excellence should be rewarded. We deserve to be rewarded.
I thought you'd.
And now we had these kids had it stolen away from them. What kind of terrible example is this for the rest of the world?
I thought your daughter
kids worked so hard that they put their heart and soul in it, and then someone comes along and says, "No, we're not going to let you in today." Sorry.
I thought someone was Jordan Love that said, "I'm not going to let you in today" by just throwing the ball all over the place.
Was fine.
He was reckless.
He
was irresponsible.
Threw it right to the linebacker.
He's number 1. It's like the guy. No, you didn't see what happened. The guy got held going out in the route. But that's okay. You don't see those things. All you see. That's why you're bad fans because you don't actually pay attention to what really happens during the game.
How good a quarterback was Tom Brady?
Green Bay.
How good a quarterback was Tom Brady?
Tom Brady was a hack.
He's a hack?
He was a hack. He got lucky.
Brady was, I thought superb yesterday, and it was clear that he's got no respect for your passing game. He keeps calling it like it's not detailed enough, like it's not sophisticated enough. You got to work on that, man. This is a sophisticated passing league now.
What does he know about our passing game?
Well, plenty, because he knows everything. He talks to people. He reads stuff.
So he makes stuff up.
No.
Talks to people like you.
No, he doesn't talk to people like me.
We'd take him.
Yeah, we would take him.
We'd have him on the show.
He wouldn't want to talk to you because you have no credibility.
Oh, that's true. That's probably true.
He would talk to Wayne Larrivee.
He'd tell him that the offense needs to be better.
How did Larrivee take it?
He's fine. Wayne Larrivee's a broadcast professional.
Well, yeah, he is.
We're all very disappointed, but you know what? Are we beaten? Are we crying like you want us to cry? We're not crying. Because you know why? Because we're going to be back next year.
You're going to leave.
It's weird. The older I get, the more I realize.
Yeah.
We can win a lot. We are so young.
Is that right?
We are going to be so good. And then, do you honestly think you could possibly have more injuries than we had? Do you think that's possible? I don't think it's even possible. It's just like everybody's hurt. So, and all Minnesota fans are laughing. They're on Twitter, they're laughing. It's funny. Oh, it's so funny when the Green Bay guys get hurt. That stupid laughing, crying emoji. Why don't you take that and stuff it, okay? Because I don't need to see it anymore.
Yeah, starting to get worked up.
If somebody's hurt, I don't need a laughing, crying emoji, okay? I don't need it. That's just low. That's a terrible human.
May I read a text that just came in from 218 area code?
Yeah, well, go ahead. I don't care. So 218, that's up in, what is that?
I think that's
northern Minnesota.
Northern Minnesota. Yeah.
Carl is starting to sound like an intoxicated Cheryl Reeve.
I am 100% sober.
You are sober? That's even more frightening. Cheryl Reeve got a little upset with the officiating. No, she's the head coach and president of basketball operations for the Minnesota Lynx. And she didn't like some calls
Game 5.
In Game 5 of the WNBA
I agree
finals,
with her.
So.
I don't agree with Gerby.
Yeah.
Oh, of course you don't, because it's Minnesota.
Well, first play you got jobbed. First play. First play you got jobbed.
Here's the danger for here's the trap you're falling into, though. I thought as an owner, you understood that part of that job is to be honest and hold your team, coaches, front office, players accountable. And you're, in a sense, letting them all off the hook. You're putting it all on the Zebras.
And they're the youngest team in the league, they're tremendous injured. What did you want them to do? Here's the deal, Dan.
Yeah.
If you're standing in the middle of a street and a bus comes and runs you over, what am I supposed to do? It's like,
That's your analogy?
blame the bus?
Yeah.
No, Dan, when Goodell doesn't want you to win, he's not going to let you win. And then we had all those injuries.
How are Vern and the office ladies doing? Are they still in Elkmount?
Yeah, so they lost almost everything. It's not.
Yeah, it's not good. It's a bad
they
story.
lost the studio.
Yeah.
You know what those guys do? They do these industrial videos where they will like rent a house in the Hollywood Hills like that.
Yeah.
And they use that and they write it off as an expense. So Brent's address changes a lot.
Well, what kind of films are these?
These are industrial films.
Industrial films, you say? They sound like something else. Industrial what?
Well, industrial, like if you're like, I don't know, if you have a new design of a chair or something, or or like hand cream or something. I don't know.
Okay. Hand cream?
He gets a lot of different. Sponsors.
Yeah, I believe that. There's no question. We got to go. Will you be watching Monday Night Football tonight?
Great. Well, you can call me and bother me anytime you want.
Packer Fan Connections.
I'll call you tomorrow after you lose.
Are you doing a playoff
watch
party?
Call tomorrow.
I'll call you tomorrow after you lose.
100%.
All right, you put me on the air.
What about PackerFanConnections.com?
Is there a watch party tonight for the big game?
No. No one cares. Let's be honest. Football season's over. Let's just move on.
That's why they put it on Monday night. This is a game they obviously think people will watch. It's Monday night national game. It's the only game in town.
I think wrestling is on.
Wrestling. Is that get something to do with
more people will watch
with Vern's ladies, or is that different?
I don't know. They don't wrestle. No, these are actresses.
Of course they are.
And models.
Congratulations on a really crappy performance yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
That's Carl Gerbschmidt, ladies and gentlemen. Not happy with us. He expects to cold call us, mocking a Vikings loss, just like we're mocking a Packers loss.
He might.
That's possible. I mean, it's weirder things have indeed happened. Don't forget, Ben Leber will join us in about 15 minutes from Arizona. Questions already coming in for Ben Leber, who's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Have we gotten any early word from the Jackals? I guess I would assume it's too far away from game time to get a sense of, all right, we know all those tickets that were bought by, at least in the front end, by both Rams season ticket holders and Cardinals season ticket holders, about what the mix is actually going to be inside the stadium. I think we're all assuming there's going to be more Vikings fans than Rams fans. Is it going to feel like that, or is it going to feel more like a neutral site kind of thing, where each team has some fans, but there's really none of them are having that big of an impact? So I know Seifert's already there. He's like Chip Scoggins. He's anal about getting there like 8 hours early.
Yep.
But I'm assuming they haven't opened the gates yet, or if they have, they just did. I mean, because it's still 3 hours till kickoff.
Right.
To get any kind of handle of what the scene might be like.
Well, first of all, I've seen a lot of buses of Rams fans coming in from L.A. They've been posting about that.
Oh, is that right?
Now, again, a couple of buses is a couple hundred people, right? So that's not
So, by the way, so how far is the Phoenix area from Los Angeles?
4.5, 5, probably.
That's all it is on a bus? Oh, okay.
Maybe a little bit longer. Right. I'd have to double check. But Dane Mizutani, who covers the Purple for the Pioneer Press, himself wrote a great piece on Sam Darnold today, where he basically talked to everybody from San Clemente, his hometown, about him. Really good piece. I'd recommend that one as well. But he just tweeted out about 10 minutes ago, just walking to the stadium, there is a lot of purple here in Glendale.
Okay. All right.
So I would guess mostly Vikings. Because, again, there's a lot of Minnesotans that live in Phoenix.
Yes, for sure.
There's a ton that are probably taking advantage of it. I saw the get-in price a couple of hours ago when I looked. The cheapest ticket was somewhere around $130 to get in there. Earlier in the day, it was around $80. So a lot of the cheap tickets, at least throughout the day, have kind of gone. We'll see what the get-in price ends up being. I would imagine it's still a pretty easy, relatively easy get-in price for a playoff game by the time this thing kicks off in a couple hours. But I'd expect more Vikings fans, a good amount of Rams fans, and then probably just some football fans.
We'll keep the text going. I think I used this stat last week, but it's worth mentioning again. I may have brought it up with Gessling, actually, that it was an interesting overview on the Rams defense that was written by Andrew Beaton, Wall Street Journal sports section, that underrated sports section we've talked about. And it is interesting. League has right now a salary cap of $255.4 million. The entire Rams starting defense well, I should say it's written as the Rams' entire defense, cost a grand total of $39.5 million. That's $27 million less than the next team and a whopping $52 million below the league average. The suggestion here is it's the most undervalued defense in the league.
Very young, I think.
It's extremely young. Is it Jared Verse? He's the favorite to become the NFL's rookie of the year. He's one of those unknowns, relative, or started the season as an unknown that has got some ability and some talent. This is a defense that can definitely cause some difficulty. Remember, they lost. When did they lose Aaron Donald? They won the Super Bowl after 2021. That's when they had Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
He's been gone at least a couple of years, I think.
Yeah, it was a year or two after that.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Rams have built a defense around a battalion of long shots, part of a broader team-building strategy. And they, like I said, they're doing it. It may not stay cheap if these guys continue to perform as well as they have. But in the lead, they talk about Verse, the favorite to become the NFL's Defensive Rookie of the Year. The best college teams in the country had no interest in him. He graduated with just a single scholarship offer. You know where he played his football? The University at Albany.
Albany. They have a football team.
I didn't even know. Did you?
No, I did not. I would not have assumed that.
Instead of being showered in cash by big-time boosters, Verse made ends meet by running deliveries for DoorDash. He starts showing some great pass rushing skill at Albany. Then other schools start talking about him, and he ends up choosing to go to Florida State, and that's where he played his way into the first round of the draft. So they are... then they have a defensive tackle named Kobe Turner, who's turned into one of the game's best interior rushers. Began his career at Richmond as a walk-on. Fellow defensive lineman Braden, is it Fiske? Or is it pronounced Fisk? F-I-S-K-E. Started out at Western Michigan. Byron Young played at something called the Georgia Military College, and Michael Hecht went to Brown. I mean, it's remarkable how many, and they've all ended up with the same team, and they're a challenge. They can be a challenge. Now, again, if you protect Darnold, I think you can, you'd like to think the Vikings should be able to take advantage, because I don't think their corners are considered all that accomplished. My biggest fear continues to be the Rams offensively, like the Lions, not as good, but like the Lions, are patient. They don't care about going downfield 37 yards. Stafford will take the intermediate stuff. He's got good receivers, especially who's the guy we weren't ready for?
Puka Nacua.
Nacua is a very physical receiver who you give him 7 yards, he'll do it. He'll turn it into an 11-yard play, whatever the case may be, and they can run the ball. They've got a good runner, and so that's my biggest concern is they're patient. And Stafford, you have to get more pressure on him than we did last time, right? And
you got to finish it when you get it.
And finish it when you get it, yeah, because he showed ridiculous agility for him.
Yes.
And maybe he doesn't even have that in him anymore. Will it matter that he got the week off that last week? I don't know. He's 50. Maybe it'll make a difference. I'm not sure. Did they rest everybody or all their starters or just him?
Well, I know they rested him. I don't know. You can only really rest 6 or 7.
True. You're right.
But, yeah, they rested quite a few to have everybody ready.
Just checked SeatGeek. Lowest get-in price, including fees, is $199 for terrace level. There are lots of tickets at that price. 651 guy suggests about a 6-hour drive from Los Angeles to Phoenix. I'll take his word for it. One example, my wife's uncle is a Cardinal season ticket holder. He bought 4 tickets, not for himself, but for his friend, who is a Vikings fan. Verse was selected 19th first round. We took Dallas Turner. I don't think we think Dallas Turner's a bust. It looks like he's got a chance to be good. Verse has been more of a factor quicker, maybe in part because he had more of an opportunity. I think most people still think Turner's got a chance to be pretty good.
Yeah, I wouldn't give up on Turner. No. I think Alec Lewis today with Nordo talking about the first matchup between these two teams was a big breakout for Verse, and a lot of it happened, I think, if I'm remembering it correctly, and I know Nordo's always listening, so he can text me if I'm wrong. that when Darisaw went out,
Oh, yes.
Verse went from like 8% pressure rate, these analytics,
to 82%.
Like, it was pretty close,
yeah.
right? When we put Quisenberry and some of the other bits in there, like all of a sudden he was a much bigger problem than when one of the best left tackles in the league was in there. So I'm sure they had their eyes on him tonight because he did wreak havoc once Darisaw went out last game.
All right, so will this be our last break?
It will be.
Oh, interesting. All right, well, let's go ahead and get that in now for bottom of the hour. That'll give us plenty of time to catch up with some final game day thoughts from Nacho Leber, Ben Leber, part of the Vikings Entertainment Network broadcast. He, of course, works the sidelines for all Vikings games, joins us every week. And generally when he joins us on Mondays, it's after games. But tonight it'll be previewing Monday Night Football, the last game of Wild Card Weekend. Let's see how confident Mr. Leber is in his Minnesota Vikings tonight. We'll find out next.
Final segment of the show, as always, brought to you by our friends at American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Vikings Football Sunday, Monday night edition, will take over at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. And we're pleased now to be joined by Nacho Leber, Ben Leber, who is already at the arena. Gargi tells me there's a hell of a sound check perhaps going on right now. Is
People
that
can
correct?
Hear it.
Wow. Ben?
Yeah, she's crushing it.
Ben?
Yes.
Oh, you can hear us. Okay. Who is that? Who's crushing it?
Yeah. Don't put me on the spot like that. I know the song. I don't know the artist. She's doing a great job. She looks great. She's got a piano right there on the 50-yard line.
Okay.
And she's belting this thing out.
We're happy for her.
LA Rams together banner strewn across the whole, one part of the stadium. It's a real sound check.
Rachel Platten fight song.
There we go. That's what it is.
It's a good song.
It is a good song.
Did you see any of the Rams buses coming? Allegedly, there's a lot of Ram fan buses coming in for the 5 or 6 hour drive between LA area and Phoenix and the greater Phoenix area.
Yeah, I did. I heard that. Not only did they sell 35,000 tickets for this game, just with the Rams ticket office. I think they offered something like 6 or so, 10 buses or something.
Whoa!
And they have a whole fan caravan coming over. But no, I did not see it.
So we are expecting what tonight? We still are expecting a lot of Vikings. Is this going to be a neutral site game? Is this going to feel like a home game? Is it going to feel like a semi-road game? What do we think?
Based on the numbers that I just kind of threw out there, this is I think the 35,000 kind of puts it right around 50% of Rams fans going to be in here. But, I don't know how many of those people are going to sell those now in the secondary market to Vikings fans. But I have to think that it is going to be pretty close to 50-50 Vikings and Rams fans here. And we all know that there's a lot of snowbirds that are down here. Now, whether or not they actually go to the game will be another thing. But I just think that it absolutely is going to be, going from a true home game in LA to something that is more like 50-50 here.
All right. So tell me, as we approach kickoff now, 7:15, I think, Central Time, right around there. Give me your greatest source of confidence for tonight and your greatest, I guess, bit of concern.
Well, let's start with my biggest concern. My biggest concern is just the psychology of Sam Darnold. How does he bounce back, and not just from a mood standpoint and just kind of picking yourself up off the floor. It's more just, do you understand what the Lions did to us defensively? Do you understand where they confused us with the coverages and how they were able to manipulate all the things across the board? And even though the Rams can't do a lot of the same things, they haven't shown to do a lot of the same things. They're not like a zero pressure team. They don't do a lot of, single high man coverage stuff. But they do run a lot of cover 3, and it kind of looks the same. You marry up single high man coverage with 3 deep, and that's the old school Seattle Seahawks. That's what they did all the time with Pete Carroll back in the day. Was they just have a single high safety? They ran cover 3. You didn't know if they were in cover 1, and they do a really good job of disguising some of those things too. So, is he going to be fooled by sort of the late movement post-snap with what the safeties and people are doing? Is that going to sort of scare him off from what his reads were last week and all that? So I'm a little concerned with that. I absolutely think that we're going to get more pressure on Stafford than we did the first time around. And, our defense, conversely, is running a lot more man coverage than we did the first time around. So I do think challenging those guys at the line of scrimmage, just putting a body on the line of scrimmage and being physical is going to change their game plan.
Is Daniel Jones going to be the backup quarterback tonight? You have great sources. I know that.
I don't know that. I have not heard any rumors or leakages about where he's going to be. I mean, we all know that he's going to be activated, so to speak, for this game. But in what capacity, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, it's hard to believe that he'd be elevated to number 2. Given the fact that he hasn't been here for very long, he doesn't get a lot of reps, if any, in practice. A lot of it's mental that he's getting. I'm sure he's picked up a lot of verbiage, and he kind of understands maybe the meat and potatoes of what this offense is. But to go out there in a playoff football game and be asked to go in there in an emergency situation as a number 2 quarterback, I don't see that happening.
So where does the Rams can run, right? They can run a little bit. In fact, I was looking at their late season schedule. They had that ridiculous shootout with Buffalo, right, that they won, that was in the 40s. Since then, they've been in the teens offensively. Now, they won a bunch of these games, which tells me they're kind of a different sort of Rams team where it's not greatest show on turf. They're winning, you could say, maybe grimier games. On the other hand, it looks to me like then, does that indicate their offense really isn't that good and is kind of vulnerable if the Vikings can just do what they like to do defensively? Because they've been playing, notwithstanding the last game of the year where Stafford didn't play, they basically have been playing in the teens lately.
Yeah, and you go back to that Buffalo game too. You got to throw in the fact that they had a block punt for a touchdown. And, so it wasn't all just their offense out there scoring points. And I believe they are the lowest scoring offense in the playoffs at about 21 points per game. So they're not high flying. You referenced the Bills game. That was probably the game that I watched where they actually got the ball down the field the most. Buffalo's not a huge blitzing team, so maybe they felt like Stafford was going to have some time to get down the field. But ever since then, it's kind of what we saw. It is a lot of short, quick passing game. They really, really want just a lot of yards after catch, and they rely on the receivers to break tackles. And so, if you're a good tackling football team, you're going to make these guys just earn every single yard. And yeah, they might go on a couple long drives. They might pick up first downs, but is that going to result in touchdowns? We'll have to wait and see. And I think that's what's been playing out the last, at the end of their season, their regular season, is they have to kind of grind out a lot of these things and get fortunate to get the ball in the end zone.
How do we do damage, at least in theory, offensively? Is it, again, being stubborn about trying to go downfield? Is it being a little bit more deliberate to get Darnold some confidence? Is it running the ball? What's the offensive game plan for success tonight?
Well, as long as we don't see the Rams sort of try to do what Detroit did last week and really go blitz heavy, I really think that this is a game where you don't have to have a running back in the backfield for pass protection. So everybody talking last week about there's just no checkdowns. Yeah. All of our passes are deep down the field. We need something short and underneath to dump it off to and check it down to. I think we can get into that mode definitely more this game just because they don't blitz. So I'd hope to see a lot of Aaron Jones and Cam Akers out of the backfield whenever they can, just to be that outlet pass. And then, like I mentioned, they do a lot of good things with their safeties. They roll them around. They do like to disguise things. I think that we can take some shots on the outside one-on-one situations with their corners. It's really hard to sort of bracket using their safeties if we just kind of stay on the outside the numbers. And so I'm looking to this game, check downs to move the chains, big shots outside the numbers.
So, I guess you could say this about every opponent or every game you play. Getting off to a good start can be helpful. I feel like even more so, playing this game from ahead would be helpful because I don't think at this point the Rams want to throw the ball 60 times, right? I mean, Stafford has done that much of his career, but they become a more balanced team, I think, where they don't want to do that, and maybe that even would play into the hands of helping us get pressure on Stafford if he has to throw. How important is it to get up 10-0 in this game?
Well, we're pretty fast starting team. So, it wouldn't be surprising for us to go out there in the first quarter and really put, 10, 14 points out there. Now, is that going to Is that going to get them bent sideways? I don't think so. I mean, they're pretty battle tested, and obviously they've been to the Super Bowl and won it. So they're not going to freak out if they're down 14. It's really more about can we get a lead, keep a lead, and then can we come out in the first possession of the third quarter and put some points on the board? And if we do that, I think that's when they really, really get stressed out and feel like they got to start throwing the football around. But that's the thing with this team. I don't think we can approach this team like any other team. I mean, these guys, they know what the playoffs are. They know that they have a good football team as long as they can just be patient with everything. And so they're not going to get away from their game plan too early.
That's Nacho Lieber from Dateline, Glendale, Arizona. You can hear the national anthem being sung in preparation, rehearsal for tonight's game, which is scheduled to start, I think, about 7:15 Central Time. Vikings Football Sunday, the Monday night edition, will commence at the top of the 5 o'clock hour, so just about 10 or 15 minutes from now. You mentioned Darnold. It's hard to get a read on how he can rebound from last week. But what's the key to that to you? I mean, because, all week the question was, well, is it more mental with him or is it more the fundamentals of what he wasn't doing? Planting correctly, shoulder square, et cetera, all those sorts of fundamental things that have to do with, fundamentally sound throwing the football. What did you observe last week, and what do you think the answer to that question is? Is it more mental or physical?
Well, I think those all those things tie into each other. When I interpreted what I heard from KOC and Sam about the fundamentals, the feet and the eyes maybe not working in concert was, well, they're not working in concert because there's hesitation with his mentals. When he looks to one side and he sees the primary read and he's confused a little bit about what coverage they're seeing, well, now he can't be snappy with his progression. Now he when the ball is snapped, it's not like, oh, I know they're in man free. I know what this is. I can go 1, 2, 3. If he can do that, that's when his feet sort of follow his eyes and vice versa. When you're confused and they've got you a little bit, that's when the physical stuff starts to fall apart. I really think for him, I know that quick rhythm, all this stuff, get some wide receiver screens in there, get some running back screens in there. That's all part of it. And again, referencing the Buffalo game, they certainly did that as well. They got the backs out of the backfield in a lot of screen games and had a lot of explosive plays with the backs catching the ball in the backfield. But I think it's more of just Sam needs to be an athlete. I think this is the game where Sam needs to be the athlete. If things aren't there and you are confused, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Don't stress about it. Take off. Mm-hmm. You're very quick. You're a nimble guy in the pocket. This is a team that I do think that you can kind of sort of out nimble some of their defensive linemen. They're going to give you some lanes because they do a lot of movements. If you see daylight, it's going to be very frustrating for their defense to do all that work and then for you to go out there and just pick up first downs with your legs. So I think when push comes to shove, be an athlete. Go out there and run around and create some opportunities on the outside. All
right, so give me from, this is the last night of the wild card weekend, so we had a lot of interesting action between Saturday, 2 games, both AFC games, and Sunday, 3 more games. Give me your number one biggest surprise from the weekend thus far.
Ooh, boy. I really thought that Green Bay was going to give Philly a better game. I know that they were down a receiver, but that's not the performance that I thought they were going to give them defensively. I mean, I actually had a lot of respect for what Green Bay does defensively, and for them to sort of just get pushed around a little bit, for Saquon to do what he does. I mean, it's no secret what Philadelphia does, and for those guys not to match mano a mano when there is no secret to the sauce. It's like, it's pretty obvious what they're going to try to do to you, and they couldn't bow up and match the physicality. I was surprised by that.
So, a lot of people hate this because it's assuming a Vikings victory tonight, which is very dangerous because I think this has a chance to be a very tight game for sure. But I'll admit, I came away from the Eagles-Packers game a little bit underwhelmed by Philly, offensively especially. Because I thought, again, with better quarterback play, there was certainly a chance that Green Bay could do what you thought, they might, that they would make things a lot more interesting. Am I reading, because that obviously would be the matchup next week, the Vikings would go to Philadelphia. Am I reading too much into the way the Eagles played to say that the more I look at it, maybe that's not as bad a matchup as I thought originally, or is that too much recency bias on the basis of one Eagles performance?
I definitely think that, I think you're seeing it clearly. I just worry about going there just because of venue, the psychological part of it, the fact that they can play physical and they can run the football, and they're not going to get away from running the football. That's the thing. I mean, they're going to do a little bit what Detroit does, but with, I think, probably even a more complete back, as much as I love Jahmyr Gibbs, but they're not going to shy away from running the football all the way in the fourth quarter. And then it's always the potential of what they can do with the quarterback and receivers that is always a threat. I mean, you have to respect those guys on the outside. There's speed, there's length, there's physicality with those receivers. And, they get hot early, then it's going to make it a really long game. And so, they do worry me a little bit, but they certainly have not looked as strong maybe as they look on paper.
Have you gone out on your trip out there, or even, in your free time in Arizona? Have you managed to make it either to the airport bookstore on your way in or to another bookstore to purchase Inner Excellence, the book that Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown apparently brings with him to read during breaks in the action during games?
I know. I was surprised to come find out that, that was really the first time he was caught on the sidelines doing that. And they're like, no, he's been doing that all season long. I'm kind of like Jalen Hurts when, look, if the guys have quirks and, kind of paraphrasing what he was saying about the whole thing is whatever can help these guys find that flow state and get in their right mind, I guess, so be it. And it happens to be a self-help book on the side. The thing is, he has to it's not like he's reading it he's not just reading it chapter by chapter, right? He's got to be looking at just like notes or highlights that he's written down, maybe even like sticky notes or something, or just like little reminders. I mean, it is very performative to me. I mean,
yes.
I don't buy it. I think there's like a lot of fraudulent to it with me, but look, man, if he's been doing it for a while and it works for him, I guess knock your socks off. I mean, bring your book on the sideline. I think it's kind of weird.
Well, the author, Jim Murphy, is delighted because it's now apparently number one on Amazon's bestseller list. So maybe Brown gets a kickback. Maybe that's what it is. It's the old, hey, they're playing chess while we're playing checkers. That they have a little side deal going. If you can get some action on this book during the break or during the sideline shot. Maybe, we sell a certain number of books, you get something. Although A.J. Brown's not hurting financially, I wouldn't think.
No, but everybody's looking to diversify.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
We haven't heard yet if the forward was written by A.J. Brown. I mean, that would be obviously the...
Yes, that'd be the kicker. All right.
That would be the kicker.
Nacho, as we wrap up, give me a score tonight.
Let's go 28-24 Vikes over Rams.
So a pretty tight game, you think? Pretty tense?
Yeah.
I wanted to believe.
I mean, we tend to keep things tight.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. And I think they're quirky and a little bit scary. I wanted to assume that if we got to 24, that would be enough, that they'd be playing in the teens. But that could be. I mean, that could very well be maybe 28-24. Have a great call on the sidelines, and we'll see you on the other end when you get back.
Yep, thanks so much.
Thanks,
Enjoy.
sir. Appreciate you. That is Nacho Leber. I apologize for the background noise because there was a lot of rehearsing going on, obviously, at what's the name of that stadium?
That is State Farm Center. State Farm Stadium.
Glendale, Arizona. I know I've been there. I think I've covered a couple games there. You've covered plenty of stuff there, if I'm not mistaken. How many bowl games have you covered there?
No bowl games there. I've been at a Final Four there.
Oh, that's what. Okay.
The bowl game was at the Diamondbacks.
That's right. It was Diamondbacks.
Chase Field.
That's the one where there ended up being a roof problem, right? And then so it ended up getting wet when they opened the roof thinking no rain.
Yes.
And then it rained, and then people had to change shoes.
It was natural grass.
And all that kind of good stuff.
Didn't go well.
Yeah, that's exactly. Do you have a score for tonight?
I'm inclined. I'm right there with Leber. I think the spread's 2.5. I think it's a field goal game. I do. It makes me nervous. But I do think the Vikings are the better team. I think they figure it out enough tonight. I believe in the Flonami. Tonight with Stafford and all their bits, and I think Sam bounces back.
I'm going to go... If we score 28, I think we're gold. I really do. I'm not even sure they'll score 24. I'm going to say, it's weird because you could. I mean, the Lions-Vikings game we all thought was going to be like 90-80, right?
That's right.
And it was played in the low numbers for much of the first half for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a game that's 80-60, but I don't think so. I think this is going to be. I think it's going to be Rams 20, Vikings 19. 20-19. Might be a failed 2-point conversion might be the difference in this ball game. Now, here's the other kicker. There are a lot of coaches. I wonder how much we are going to go for it on fourth down in this game because we don't go for it as much. We definitely don't as much as Campbell. Who's the Washington Commanders coach?
Dan Quinn.
He went for it, and he made a point. We don't want them having too many possessions in this thing. So I think he went for it 4 or 5 times as well. I wonder if this might be a night where we up the ante in that regard.
We do what we do.
Let's go for let's what the hell?
That didn't work well last week.
No, that's
not
point.
really us.
No, you're right. That's not playing into character, is it?
No.
The Spinners music now because the Vikings pregame show will start in just a couple of minutes, and then we're back with Vikings talking points tomorrow, as well as Johnny Athletic tomorrow, and we hope Cameron Bynum tomorrow. Usually get him on day after games. Will we be commiserating about the sudden end, the cruel and sudden end to a season, or saying nothing is going to stop us on to the city of brotherly shove to host the NFC title game? And big gap between those two extremes. Enjoy the football tonight. We will talk to you tomorrow beginning at 3 o'clock right here on The Fan.
Thank you, everybody, for coming here.
Purple Pride, Purple Pride.